topic today is technology as a key driving force, and I am sure that there is no doubt in the minds of most of us who sit here that technology is indeed the driving force, as we have seen in the realm of agriculture, banking, which has provided both growth and inclusiveness. But why do we have such a session in a technology meet like this? And I would just like to open by setting out a context with 4 or 5 quick points. One, technology has enabled innovation and is a major spur to productivity growth. Yet, there is a paradox. The paradox is productivity growth has slowed as digital economies have boomed. Number 2, among advanced economies over the last 15 years or so, it has averaged less than half the pace of the previous 15 years where we had less of a digital economy. Third, the new technologies have a tendency to produce take-it-all winners. There is nothing left for those who are in the fringe. Number 4, and finally, dominant firms have acquired more power. Market structures have become less competitive, and business dynamism has declined. While this is the caveat, in the discussion today, we have 4 experts who will sort of test this premise that I have shared and speak about their experience on how technology is providing them both a platform for growth and inclusion. Let me first invite Veena Reddy to share her few thoughts on how USAID as an organization is providing this platform for inclusive growth. That is what is the reason for aid organization, and I'm sure she has some good insights to share.
Great. Thank you so much, Toby. Great introduction. And I think I've already been introduced, but I'm the director of USAID, working from the part of the US government in India. And I've been working in the development sector with USAID for 18 years now. In India, USAID has been here over 60 years, and technology and innovation has been at the heart of the partnership story between the US and India, whether it was helping to start the first IIT, or well, one of the first IITs in Kanpur, or fueling the Green Revolution. India and US and technology have all been hand in hand. So this is really, the discussion today is really a continuation of that emphasis, of that importance of innovation, technology, and digital tools are the next iteration. And I think that really we're here to talk about inclusion. USAID was formed with the noble goal of alleviating global poverty. And, but in order to do that, we need to take an approach that honors and really elevates inclusion. And at USAID and throughout the government of the US, we are looking at both internally, how we can be more inclusive. We have a presidential order which looks at including diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility throughout our work, throughout our operations and our work. And at USAID, we take a kind of 3-pronged look at this issue externally. First, we want to do no harm. We also want to leave no one behind. And we want, when we look at a population that we think are underserved, we want to do nothing for them or about them without them. We want to include those populations in the decision-making process, in the implementation and the evaluation. And we also, I want to emphasize that this is, it's not just about creating a more just world. It is it's a better world. World Bank, others have estimated that we lose trillions of dollars in global GDP because of gender gaps, of lack of gender inclusion. So imagine if we were more inclusive, how much better we would all be, not just for gender, but looking at LGBTQ, looking at social stigmas. All of these things can create a more prosperous world for all of us. So literally, we could all be richer if we were more inclusive. And we see technology as a tool. It's not an end in itself, and it can be used. There are dangers such as increased domestic violence, for example, and other, security issues that can come out of too much reliance on technology, but it has an enormous potential to bridge this gap and to reduce inequality around the world, which we've seen only increase after the experiences of COVID-19. So at USAID, we look to incorporate digital tools and technology that can bring more inclusion into the prosperity of India throughout our portfolio and throughout the world, frankly. So in India, whether it's helping street vendors gain access to health services or helping women entrepreneurs get enhanced market accessibility through digital tools, we were constantly looking for ways to forward the agenda of inclusion and the principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility throughout our work. Thank you.
Avina, may I ask you a quick question? A quick one. It's based on what you have said, that if digital growth has spurred innovation, and it is also something that is impacting swing states like India, is there an example or a lesson we can learn from a country like the United States, where the digital divide has caused a lot of political changes there, brought in different political ideologies, which has upset governance to a large extent? Is there something that you might want to consider this as you build your narrative?
That's a good question. I would say I think what we can learn is that we need to have the responsible use of technology. And throughout that, I think we need to give people the tools they need to understand technology, as well as to evaluate the messages they're receiving. So, yeah, thank you.
Let me now pass it on to Geeta Gurnani, who is the Chief Technology Officer and lead for IBM. She is a champion of, among many other things, women's inclusiveness, which I think is a very important vector when we look at economic inclusiveness. And she has a few things to share, and I just will quickly ask her to take the lead.
Sure. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. And I think it's our privilege to share the thoughts around the inclusive development of India. And when Toby first reached out to me, I think I was just stunned by the thought that, yeah, this is how technology is really impacting the entire India development. And I'll share a few thoughts that what are we trying to do at IBM for creating that inclusive growth for India, right? So 3 things I think I will like to point out. The first one is clearly around skilling and talent, because we can actually reduce more and more digital divide if we start to skill more and more people. And we are also focusing not purely on skilling, because I think one can skill people, but employability is a big thing, right? So one can skill, so we are working with government around AIs to go in the school syllabus. We are working for STEM education of the girls. But there is an effort around taking the offices near to home. And in last 2.5 years, IBM has actually opened 7 locations, which are tier 2 cities. And very fresh one being now Kochi, Bhubaneswar, and Ahmedabad, where we are taking the employability more near to the home, right? So that's the first parameter or the first pillar we are trying to work as a company. The second one, and I think that's, I'm really, really passionate about, and you see all these lot of logos and so much conversation around startups, right? And around how our software services industry is fueling the India growth completely and also contributing to the global, right? So the second thing which we are trying to do for the inclusive development of India is that, see, we are a company who produces technology, right? We have a lot of products. So we leverage a lot of talent and create a lot of employability for our partner ecosystem to first contribute in developing the products, right? The products which then actually create opportunity for two sets of customers. One, the customers who are outside of the India, and we are fully committed to this mission of government that by 2025, the software services revenue should be $300 billion. So these global SIs who leverage our products and are deploying for the global customers, right? So that's where we are contributing from growth. The other is also the entire local partner ecosystem, which is serving to Indian customers, that they customize our products for Indian customers, they deploy them for the Indian customers. So that's the second pillar we are committed, which is creating opportunity for partner ecosystem. One for India, the other is from India for the world. Those are the two things I would call out, right? The third thing, I think it's a very important because we all are now talking about India Digital 2.0, that how the financial inclusion needs to move forward further, how the urban and rural communication really needs to that bridge the gap, entire urban and rural communication part. So I will just highlight two of the top things, or maybe two of the top initiatives which we did and participated in India's a way forward towards the India Digital 2.0. One is, I think most of you are aware that how SBI completely transformed and launched the platform, which is to bring the digital SBI, right, to the masses. And that project was done by IBM. So we are leveraging our tech and our talent to really deploy those solutions for the customer. The second one, most of you would have heard our recent announcement with Airtel around 5G. And we all know that the kind of impact we will see in next 48 to maybe 12 months, starting 12 months up till 36 months, that how 5G is actually going to impact each and every industry, right? We call about that. So I think just summarizing my conversation, that for inclusive development, top key three themes. First is skilling and talent. Second is opportunity for ecosystem. And third is IBM's contribution to the tech ed and India Digital 2.0. Thanks, Toby.
Thank you, Geeta. I would now ask Sudhir. Sudhir, you have made a statement in one of your articles which says technology is a significant contributor to productivity and progress. The prudent alchemy, you have used the word alchemy, of technology, talent and capital can drive sustainable, meaningful and exceptional economic outcome. Perhaps you would want to build on this and share your thoughts.
Thanks, Toby. Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah. As a venture capital fund, we're often asked, what do we really look for in terms of matrices? And in that context, one of the elements that excites us is the ability to use technology as a lever for what we're now calling inclusive development. But in inclusion, when we look at Bharat, as it is often referred to, we have to be commercially prudent as capital providers. We want to do things at scale, which is again a fairly difficult dimension to achieve in a short span when you are working with early stage companies. And you have to include as many technologies that are already available rather than do everything from scratch, which is leveraging the ecosystem that's already there. We are fortunate at this point of time that we have a lot of digital infrastructure that's come in with the help of the government of India and its investments. And we are aware of the India Stack, and there are many more. And yesterday I was in a session referring it to as digital public goods. it is leveraging the digital public goods that allows us to really think about inclusion. Let me give some examples. We went into the dairy business to look at technology for dairy. And dairy, by the way, is literally every farmer in our country pours whatever is excess milk beyond what they can consume at home into a pot, which then moves into the system and comes to us in sachets every morning. And this happens every village. We need it in urban India, and then we ship cash. So it's a very simple transaction. It's been on for 70 years. But let's pause and understand, what is the quality of that milk? What is the nutrition that that cow has got? What is the state of that farm? What is the state of the farmer? And we've, through this company called Stellabs, actually now are in over 40,000 points of presence with IoT devices connected on the cloud. On a network, we can actually measure the quality of milk that each farmer pours twice a day. So much so that we now measure the quality and price the milk based on the quality of the milk for over 250 partners in the country. And we do over 10% of India's milk on a single platform. Now, this is almost like a parallel telecom network that's working. It has to work in villages which sometimes or often don't have power. So we have to think about the entire infrastructure that is to be added or supplemented. Inclusive development is inclusive tech stack. How do you make it commercially prudent then? Can the farmer really afford it? Do you really believe that the productivity, to your point, Toby, does it really change? And I'm glad to inform that in over 1,200 villages more recently, we actually now provide market linkages ourselves to the farmers in model villages that we're building. These farms are now increasing income almost 3x, 4x in less than 3 years. So while the mission of the government is to double farm income, we're actually witness to phenomenal productivity that's coming through, because we can actually now have wearables for the animals. We run facial algorithms so we can insure these animals. We can actually finance this cattle, and we have a marketplace. We embed financing. So you're bringing in a host of various technologies to a specific purpose in order to transform what is a daily consumption. If I look at Swamitva, which is again a large government initiative in rural India to map villages and land holdings, a company that we backed called Idea Forge 5 years ago, India's leading drone company, won the order on a single vendor basis because the requirements of that tender were very specific. In order to be able to actually map land parcels with these drones would be sub 2 kilo class with a certain endurance that they needed. We now have deployed more than 200 drones along with the Survey of India, and I'm glad to tell you that we've mapped over 35% of the villages that were intended. Over 200,000 villages were asked for. The number of village parcels, which is land holdings that will be now available, and the records are being created inclusively for these people in the villages, now exceeds 17 million parcels out of 45 million parcels of land that have been actually now mapped. If I look at another company we invested in, which is in the telecom sector, which we did a lot of work in the US, but brought back that understanding of network optimization and building networks in India. We have the Universal Service Obligation Fund, which is part of the Department of Telecom. But now you've got to actually put Wi-Fi or networks, digital networks, statewide. And we're happy to say that we're in 3 states in India and deploying statewide networks. Digital infrastructure, digital usage, digital productivity is the way we're thinking about how does inclusive development then take across a parameter of industries. Come to health. We have recently made an investment in connecting these independent diagnostic centers. The country has over 20,000 independent diagnostic centers which host X-ray machines, CTs, MRIs. Many a hospital can't afford these machines, so they're neutral, but they're not connected. We've got a company that has established a network that is made available with high-quality radiologists and with AI augmentation for these radiologists to give accuracy, better accuracy in higher quality of time, and be able to reach that patient and prevent potentially mortality because we haven't diagnosed a problem in time. If I look at how do factory workers, warehouse workers, how do they get employee health and safety? We have another company that's been invested into, which has rolled out a digital health program to service these class of customers, as well as somebody sitting in the CXO suite in Manyata Park. But the ability to be inclusive would mean the quality parameters that we talk of are important to every member that is going to receive these services or products. That's how we would look at leveraging technology or kinds of technology, and these companies, the early stage companies, understand what it takes to transform. And in that transformational process, we have to be able to absorb multiple types of technology. While our fund does invest in core technologies for emerging applications, we're also looking at where a set of applications require a relook at the deployment of technology and a stack of technology. So that's our contribution.
Thank you, Sudhir. We were fortunate to hear Geeta with an insight from what a tech company will do, and we've heard from Sudhir what, if you have a deep insight into what is the investment that you're doing on the technology to create a social base. And now we have somebody I think is extremely important. It is Gopal, who works in the water space. He represents a company, one of the largest water companies in the world. So why is water so important? So you look at a city like Bangalore or a city like Cape Town, one of the biggest problems is that most cities in the world will face shortage of water. At a national level, we are talking about water wars. So if companies who are working in the city is not mindful about creating a larger ecosystem for water, it's basically we are trying to dig our own holes. So let me pass it on to Gopal for his insights on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Toby, and good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, when it comes to water, I think whatever we speak, but still we lack focus and attention. I'll give you a few statistic data which makes the point very interesting and important. Less than 1% of the water available on the planet is useful for human consumption. If you take a country like India, where we have 16% of the world population, we only have 4% of the world useful water. On top of that, 80 to 90% of our fresh water is used for agriculture and irrigation purpose, compared to 30-40% in other places. We hardly treat water. Less than 30% of the sewage water is treated in any form. Even if they treat, the percentage of that water used for reuse purpose is very less because of the discharge quality. 40% of the urban water supply has the leak issues, which all add into the challenges and water crisis we have. We can't create water. We can create water in a shorter form, through desalination and few other means, but by and large, we cannot create water. Only thing we can do is reuse and recycle water. The question is, are we doing enough? The question is, are we doing seriously at a level where we can able to preserve and conserve the water for the future generation? We are not. Fortunately, the technology has taken a lot of progress over the last 20 years. The latest membrane technologies have changed the game completely. The level of water treatment that is possible, the quantity and the quality of the water that you get through these treatments has significantly improved. How do we use those technologies in a more sustainable way to the, everybody on the planet, right? That is what the discussion point is. I want to give one example here. One of the large fertilizer company based out of Mumbai needs about 22.5 million liters of water per day. It's a huge quantity. With the help of our technologies, with the help of our membrane technologies, they switched from using the fresh water from municipality. They actually source sewage water. We treat the water, more than 20 million liters of water per day. That means more than 90% of the water actually treated and used for their industry By that, that quantity of water can be repurposed. And this is a huge quantity. It serves 300,000 families in terms of their household needs and their drinking water needs. What does it mean is, instead of depending on municipal water and fresh source of water, if industries can switch towards using more reuse water from sewage treatments or sewage water, it can change the game completely. Similarly, if you look at commercial and residential space, you see the malls, you see the tech parks, you see the various residential apartment complex. Everywhere there is a huge amount of opportunity. Today we buy water through tankers, and this water is coming through your bore wells and other drilling systems. That means we are depleting the water that is there in the ground. India is depleting the water resources faster than any other country, right? In order to prevent that additional water you're buying from these sources, if you can able to increase the reuse percentage, and that requires again a letter and spirit here, not just having a treatment plant, but is the treatment plant is serving the purpose? Is the quality, output quality is good enough? Are we using the right technologies? Are we having a dedicated plumbing line so that this water can be supplied to various applications? That is where the change is needed and the technology is willing to support. Similarly, the last other area of focus is, if you look at industries, during their industrial process, they supply a lot of effluents. And these effluents are not only problem because they get mixed with the natural resources or fresh water and other systems. They also pollute, they cause a lot of problem to neighborhood. But if we have effluent treatment plants, which can enable these effluents can be treated and supplied back to their processed water, again, you save significantly. Now, not all the industries can support. There are a lot of small scale and medium scale industries cannot afford to have effluent treatment plants. If municipalities, if industrial parks, if the government and other bodies come forward and set up more common effluent treatment plants, common STPs, and supply treated water by collecting effluents, the game will completely change, the investment will be more attractive, and the benefits are going to be huge. As a water technology company, Veolia Water Technology, we are one of the leading industrial water treatment company. We are known to be specialists in tough to treat water. We believe that the technology solution available to treat any form of water. We have more than 500 installations in the country. We have 1,500 people, technology supporting various technologies. We have 3 factories and more than 40 service centers. The request from my side is, if we all work together and use this technology in an efficient way, we can able to change the game and preserve and conserve the water, not only for us, but for future generations. Thank you.
I think there is one message which Gopal has said in the end, which is the need for collective working, the need to work together to make sure that the objective of inclusive growth is achievable. We have about 8 minutes left, and I thought the best is to ask the audience, give you an opportunity. We have a very esteemed panel here. Please ask questions, but be very brief and just be kind to tell us whom the question is addressed for. That will make it easier for us to plan the delivery from this side. So if somebody wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. You have a mic? Would you be kind to just state your name?
You hear me? Hello? Yes. Now? Yeah, so my name is Ajit, and we have a startup called Grupo. So we are into B2B manufacturing. So the question is like, so we are a startup, we are a bootstrapped company, and we also wanted to expand into US and European market as well. So being a startup, when you don't have money, so it's very hard to expand, right? So how does the panelists could help us in terms of expanding our company into, into cross-border transactions or cross-border connections, for example. Yeah.
Who are you, are you asking, Gopal?
Like everyone. To Veena, like Reddy's.
Right. What business did you say you're in?
We're into B2B manufacturing in the apparel industry, manufacturing sector. So to handle the manufacturing, you need money, right? Like you need huge set of capital, right? Have capital, right? Like it's very hard for us. So when we wanted to expand into another market, like let's say US, Europe, so how does the panel help us in terms of expanding that?
Yeah, I mean, fundraising is something that you have to start thinking about.
Yeah.
Assuming that the customer that you already have is not leaving enough profit for you. Otherwise, you typically can make internal accruals coming from what customers leave with you. And there are multiple funding options, one of which is venture capital.
Yeah.
And there are a large number of VCs. There is an endeavor at the moment by the Ministry of Commerce, and I hope you are already registered with DPIIT as a registered startup. You will soon see a method to actually access capital. It's underway, but the current modus operandi is that most startups like you will actually knock on multiple VCs. But it's expected that you'll have a tech platform, which is part of the Startup India movement, and hopefully you'll get much easier access for the kind of capital you require for the specific industry that you're targeting.
So do you think capital is the only option for us to expand into other markets, let's say US market and all?
No, to the extent you said that I don't have funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other resources which are required.
Exactly.
You need customer access, you need product, you need talent. So there's a bunch of other resources, one of which, of course, is capital.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's an excellent question for most youngsters to ask this. How do I grow? How do I scale up? Well, good question. Anybody else? Yes.
There's a lady there.
Yeah, in the front, please. A mic.
Hello everybody, my name is Raja Mishra. I'm a visually challenged person and I have a startup that focuses on empowering people with disabilities through technology. Now technology is pretty essential for people with disabilities to interact in the current world. And us hoping to understand, anyone from the panel can answer this, what are the steps, because mostly when we think about inclusion, people with disabilities, at times there are a lot of lags and they feel left behind. So what are the future visions when it comes to people with disabilities, and how can we ensure that everything that is being made now on, any product, technological product, software, hardware, it is made inclusive, and how people with disabilities and startups with disability, entrepreneurs who have disabilities are engaged in product development?
I think it's a brilliant question. Who would want to take that? Veena?
Sure, that's fantastic. That is the, in DEIA, the A is accessibility, and that's very important to US government, USAID, to find solutions, and you're right. And I think a lot of it will come down to policies and create, in the United States, we've had many policies that have enabled greater accessibility, all of our buildings, our homes, to have that available to us, and then and it allows more people to participate in the economy. And you raise a good point about startups, and one of our programs, in fact, has worked with some people who are affected by COVID-19, including the disabled, in starting new businesses. So would love to hear more about your ideas, maybe. And we have our team here that works on those, so would love to hear more of your thoughts. But I do think that there needs to be, as some of our speakers have said, an ecosystem that enables this inclusion. So wonderful to hear your passion for this, and looking forward to more ideas. Thank you.
Hello.
I'll add a little more to your question, I think. So one, I think a whole aspect of making everybody aware of the inclusive part and accessibility part, right? I think just to be like very honest, when I was creating and going deep into my own awareness, I realized that so many of us wear specs, right? So we also are in that category of disabled, right? Saying that the eyesight is a thing, right? That we are dependent on an additional thing. I think from a technology advancement point of view, I have seen AI making a significant progress, right? And significantly contributing the accessibility part of it, be it, I think, every product which we look at, a common use of, let's say, Microsoft Office or Word or PowerPoint or whatever. So I would say that I think all of us should collectively think that how AI could be pervasive in every product we build, so that it's accessibility ready and it uses all different aids available to really make products accessible to everybody.
So true. Thank you so much.
Next, now I'm glad we have many people raising hands. So, good, good.
Hello.
There's a lady here. Yeah.
Hello.
Please. Okay. The
hello.
next to the lady.
Respected everybody, I am from Bengaluru, Lokeshwar NS. This is regarding the water requirement in Bangalore. As I am in Bangalore, around 400 lakes were there in Bangalore earlier. Now these lakes, half of the lakes are filled with mud for some other purposes. So this is affecting to our businesses or for startups and all, and for the everyday people's usage also. So I request making the more STP plants to make the reuse of water, so it is helpful to the public and to go for the more startups as a technical things are going up. Thank you very much. This is for the sir actually.
Okay. No, you made a very good point, right? Bengaluru is known for greenery. Bengaluru is known for so many lakes. Some of them are shrinking at this point of time because we are, abusing them. We are taking a lot of water. The water is getting polluted, etc. So again, the reuse, recycle is going to help us. Not only that, I think there are several lake cleaning projects can be initiated. We have seen some initiative coming in western part of the country where certain lakes have been identified where the technology, you can actually have a mobile cleaning treatment technology that can be stationed next to a lake, take the water and then circle back the water into the lake and then take out the waste, and that waste can be used also. It is completely 100% recyclable scenario. But those technologies are possible. I think we need more and more people. We cannot rely everything on government. We need to have more and more people come forward with their startups or with their social causes, etc. We can accelerate those efforts. But very valid point.